This is KTVO's Good Morning Heartland.
Welcome back. It's now time for our entertainment segment, which means Kit Avanzado is here this morning to talk about movies, and we are discussing Ride Along, which I'm really excited about because the previews look hilarious. But
I'm sorry to temper your excitement, but this was a pretty bad movie.
Really?
Yeah, I hate to say it. Because here's the thing, I love Kevin Hart, I love Ice Cube. Both are great comedians as standalone.
Yeah.
But together in this movie, they just didn't mix.
Like, they didn't have the chemistry?
The chemistry on screen was terrible. And it's funny because I saw some like little gag reels and some behind the scenes footage of this movie prior to seeing it. And they get along great behind the camera.
Right.
They're hilarious. But in the movie, it just wasn't funny at all.
Really?
Like, at all. It was just, everything seemed forced. I mean, in comedies, I forget about the plot. I don't take that into consideration too much. But if it's funny, if it makes me laugh, everything's justified, just like Anchorman. If Anchorman's as ridiculous as a plot that is, it's still funny. But this, with Ride Along, it's just, there wasn't hardly ever a funny moment. Yeah, it was actually really
So all the funny moments were in the previews?
In the trailer, yeah. And it's funny because even watching the trailer, I was like, all right, this looks like it has potential. It could be a funny movie, but man, those were the peak moments in terms of the funny moments in this movie.
So really quickly, just give us a synopsis of what the movie's about.
Basically, Kevin Hart, his character, is actually looking to marry Ice Cube's sister. And Kevin Hart just got entered in the police academy, and Ice Cube is actually already in the police. So Ice Cube takes Kevin Hart along for a ride along.
Right.
And it ends up turning into, typical cliche plot. It ends up turning into a crazy day, something that you never expect. And there are some funny moments, like I said, but if you want to see the funny moments, go watch the trailers, because this was a really disappointing movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, do you think it would have been better if there was a different, the two comedians cast together, or do you just,
I don't know.
Do you just think that the whole plot line and everything was just
because the whole plot was centered on the performances of Ice Cube and Kevin Hart. They both have very distinct characteristics in terms of characters they play. Like if you watch Barbershop or if you watch Friday, Ice Cube has a certain way to kind of portray himself, and he's almost typecast. And Kevin Hart's the same way. Stand-up comedian, go into the movie scene, and you could see like the bits and pieces of each of their characters that they typically play in the movie, but they just don't gel well together, and it just came off really bad. I love buddy cop movies, don't get me wrong,
right.
but this was a really, really bad movie.
So definitely not worth the money to go see it in theaters?
I wouldn't. Me personally, no. But, for some people, like I said, I like Kevin Hart. His last stand-up, his last movie was just purely a stand-up routine, and it was hilarious.
Right.
And he kind of saved this movie, but him and Ice Cube together just didn't mold well. It was pretty bad.
So out of 5 stars?
I'd give it 2, only because I like Kevin Hart and Ice Cube so much. So 1 star for each, I guess you could say.
All right. Well, thanks for that, Kit.
No problem.
We'll be right back.